everyone, welcome back to my channel. This question is asking which vector in two-dimensional space has no corresponding unit vector. Question of the unit vector where the formula was, let me write it down one more time so that we remember. So unit vector is equal to 1 divided by the norm times the vector. So now we know that the unit vector, how do we find a norm for 0? Like has no corresponding unit vector. There is no unit vector. So it's like 0 unit vector. So if there is 0 unit vector, no corresponding unit vector, obviously in the two-dimensional space, I'm going to have 0, 0, right? Because I cannot compute this. I cannot find the norm. I don't know my V. So they're saying no corresponding unit vector. So there will be no computation. So it will be like 0, 0. So if I plug in 0, 0, and clear my drawings, if I put there 0, 0, it's the correct answer. If I check my answer, you can see my answers for the above questions is correct. So let's move to the next one. Okay, guys, let's see this question. In this question, they're asking, find a vector A that has the same direction as the vector -8, 3, 8, but has length 3. So how do we find a vector like that? So the rule for this is first we find the norm of A, just like we did in our previous questions. So it's going to be -8 squared. Anyway, it's going to be positive, but I'm going to write it down. 3 squared plus 8 squared and square it on all of them. So what's the norm for A now? So if I take the square root of 64 plus 9 plus 64, so it's going to be square root 137. And we know the norm. So how do we find the vector? To find the vector, we use the same way, same rule, just the way we do the unit vector. So, and there's one little bit of difference. So what's the difference is, now I do 3 divided by the norm, because they say that my length is 3. I need to get the norm 3. So I have to do 3 divided by the norm times my vector, which is -8. So this is 1. And then comma, for the second one, 3 from my length divided by my norm times my 3, comma, 3 for the length divided by the norm, which is 137, times my vector, which is 8. So now I can rewrite this. It's going to be -24 divided by square root 137, comma, 9 divided by square root 137, comma, 24 divided by square root 137. So this is my answer for this question where they have given me the length. So it's going to be -24 divided by square root 137, comma, 9 divided by square root 137, comma, 24 divided by square root 137. If I check it, let me clear my drawings. If I check my answer, you can see my answer is correct. So here is another question where they have given me 2 vectors, three vectors. So okay, here in this question, we have 3 vectors, u, v, w, and they have said to compute the following values. So how do I do that? To compute the following values, you see I have u norm plus my v norm. So what I can do is take the norm for the u, just like I explained before, which is this, -3 squared plus -1 squared plus 5 squared. And then plus the norm for v. So it's 4 squared plus -1 square plus 2 square. So I'm not good. I just give you the steps how to do it. I'm not going to write the answer. I want you guys to check it by yourself. And then for this one, what we're going to do? We're going to do is -4u plus 8v. So how do I do this? So to do this, you see, first you have to do the inside part before you take the norm. Before you do the norm, you have to do -4u. So let's find this. What is my -4u? So -4, -3, -1, 5. So it's gonna be 12, 4, -20. When I multiply each of the component with 4, right? I get this. I get this. So now what I do, I take the norm of this one. It's going to be 12, 4, -20. And we know that to take the norm, we have to square each of them plus 4 square plus -20 square. On your calculator, when you put -20 square, always remember to put a bracket inside, and then you put -20 inside the bracket, inside the parentheses, and then you put the square root, because or else you might get a negative number and you cannot take the square root of a negative number. So then what we do, you solve this and put it here. Next, for this one, for this part, I just did this part, right? I just did this part, and you write the answer here, and then plus what? Is 8 to the norm. So I know the norm for this one is this. So I just put the 8 here, and then square root. It's not inside the v. See the difference between this one and this one. In this one, I have -4 inside the norm. So that's why I first write what I did. I multiply -4 with a vector, and then I get this, and then I multiply it. Square it and put the square root. Then I find the norm. But for this one, in this case, it's different. The 8 is outside of the norm. So I do the norm for v. I know how to do it, this one, which is 4 square plus -1 square plus 2 square. So I just want to show you guys that I'm right, and this is the correct way of doing it. For the sake of your understanding, I'm going to put the answer. I'm going to show you guys. So for this one, what I get is square root of 9 plus 1 plus 25. So square root of 35 plus square root of 16 plus 1 plus 4 is 21. So for this one, I got square root of this part, you see, 12 square plus 4 square plus -20 square. So it's square root 560 plus what? I have 8 outside, and then it's my 4 square plus 1 square plus 2 square is my square root 21. Square root 21. Okay, let's do the next one. Let me clear the drawings, and then after doing all of them, I'm going to check the answers. So for this one, you can see everything is inside. So what I have to do is individually, I have to do this first. Then I have to do this first. Then I have to find out W, and then I subtract them, and then I take the norm. So what I have to do is 8u. So what do I mean by 8u? -3, -1, 5. This is my u. You can see here. I'm going to multiply it. How to multiply it? Multiply each of them and put a comma. 8 times 3 is going to give me -24, -8, 8 times 5 is going to give me 4. And then I put the sign, the vector sign. Now I have 5v. So 5, and then v is going to give me 4, -1, 2, as you can see here. And then what I do, 20, -5, 10. And then my w, I know my w is 5, -2, -4. So now what I have to do is this one is 8u minus this one plus this one. So negative 24, comma, negative 8, comma, 40, negative 20, comma, negative 5, comma, 10, and plus 5, comma, negative 2, comma, negative 4. Now I do the calculation for this. I subtract them and I add this and then I take the norm. I hope so far what I have done, you understand how to do it. So I'm going to check the answers and I'm not going to continue because I have given enough explanation to explain how this one worked. So if I check the answer, for 2 of them was correct as I plugged it in. But for my rest of them, I don't want to plug it in. I want you guys to do it. And if you have any question related to them, please comment in my video. I would love to answer them. And so for this question, they're saying, suppose your u vector and v is given are 2 vectors that form the side of a parallelogram. The length of the 2 diagonals of the parallelogram are. So I have to find the length of the 2 diagonals. How do I do that? To do that, what you have to do is, you know that u is given, v is given. So to find the length of the 2 diagonals, what I have to do, first I have to do u plus v and u minus v. So it's simple. What you have to do, you have to add the vectors. We know how to add, right? So negative 9, comma, negative 3. How do you add them? First one, add with the first one. Second one, add with the second one. So negative 9 minus 1 is going to give me negative 10 if I add them. Negative 2 plus negative 3 is going to give me negative 5. And for subtraction, the same thing. Just subtract them. So what you're going to get is negative 1 plus 10. Don't forget, this is minus plus. So negative 1 plus 9 is going to give me 9 minus 1 is going to give me 8. And the negative 2 plus 3 is going to give me 1. And then what I do, I take the norm of this one, I take the norm of this one, and then I put it here. So norm of 10 square, negative 10 square plus negative 5 square is anyway going to give me positive number. So 100 plus 25 is going to give me 125. And for the second one, I'm going to get 8 square plus 1 square is going to give me 64 plus 1 is square root 65. Let me plug in the answer and see. So it's going to be square root 125, comma, square root 65. Let me check the answer. You see, is correct. You see, it's correct. So this is how you do it. If anyone watched this whole video, they would be able to answer any question related to norm and distance. This video completely covers the questions that can come up related to norm and distance. This is a great video for you guys to practice your understanding related to norm and distance. If this video really helped you guys, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel.